Alright, so going to get started on this. The Electrolarms, what I usually do first is I take out the light bulb holder. I forgot to mention in the introduction is this one came without a light bulb holder. So we usually go right in there. So that's a bit of an obstacle that's going to have to be overcome. It also did not come with the original cord, so that's something I'm going to have to come up with too. And because I've been collecting these and acquiring them for a couple years now, I do have some stuff around. I should be able to fix the light bulb holder. Well, not fix, but have a light bulb holder that'll work on this, and also I definitely will be able to make a original style cord for this. So this one, by the way, if we're looking at the serial numbers, this serial number would indicate that this is a later model Electrolarm. The ones that I have, the lowest number I have is 110809, and then the one with the highest number is 586581, and this one is the third highest number I have at 284333. That is providing that those numbers correspond to the way they were produced, which I think is the case, but don't know absolutely for sure. One nice thing about this clock is we don't have any chips on the bakelite. I can repair that, but it's a lot of work, so that's nice. So once I've taken those 3 screws out, I can withdraw the movement from the case, and this is what we've got going on. And this is actually my first look inside of here, and this actually looks good. It looks like all these parts, the coil, the bell coil, the switch, looks like they're all intact. I had one which had a crack in the bakelite on the top, and what had happened was water had gotten inside the clock, and it had ruined everything inside of it. The clock coil, the bell coil, the switch for the alarm. So the next thing that I do with this is I remove this screw right here. And I don't think that, there's necessarily a correct sequence to do this, but it's just what I do. So I'm going to take that out. I also disconnect the wires that are held in over here. Then what I like to do is go ahead and remove the bell and coil assembly. So got these 2 right here. I'm going to take out, and these should have lock washers, and on the other side of this bracket there should be 2 vibration dampening washers, which I don't really know what they're made out of. It doesn't look like rubber to me, but that should be there. We'll see what happens. All right, now there we go. So we see there's the vibration dampening washers. Put those to the side. Here's your screw with your lock washer for the bell coil assembly. Now the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the hands. I don't want to damage those in the process. Now, these hands look like they're good and stuck on there. The fluid from the rotor has come through. So we'll see. It may be a case of just slipping off, or it could be a case where it's going to be a real struggle. So we start with the sweep hand here, and that's nice because that just came right out. There's supposed to be an end on here, which is what I was talking about earlier, which we're going to have to take a look at and try and repair. Now the next thing is this nut right here. I'll try it by hand and just see if it moves. And I'm not sure I'm getting it. It's not actually moving by hand, so I'm gonna get my pliers here. I'm gonna hold the mitt hand and then just gently try to break it free. And it did turn, but it's still sticking on there. Okay, I prefer not to use the pliers if I can help it, because it winds up sometimes causing these knurls in the brass, which isn't attractive. Now, once that's off, this minute hand should just come right off. It shouldn't be that hard to get off. The hour hand, on the other hand, is usually much more of a challenge. So I'm just going to gently move this. There we go. Now, the hour hand is just sitting on there, but it's usually just, at this point, when you see this, is cemented onto the hour hand sleeve. So what I'm going to do is just gently, and with this face it doesn't matter so much because we already know it's ruined, but if this face wasn't ruined, I'd want to be very careful when I'm doing this that I don't gouge the face. So I put something really skinny under there, and then like a screwdriver, and then turn it. Just go around and do that until it finally comes loose. And this is more typical. The last Electrolarm I worked on, somebody else had worked on it, and everything was just nice and loose and came right off, and that's not actually very typical in my experience. This, what I'm doing right now, is much more typical. Sometimes it can help to put a drop of lubricating oil on there. The danger with that is if you screw that up and it runs onto the face, that can cause a problem that we don't want. So let's see if I go back now. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to try and scrape away some of this oil that's stuck on there. See if that'll make a difference. All right. Let's see what happens now if I get underneath it. All right. It's moving a little bit. Still not enough. Okay. Now it's coming up. And that's the hour hand. Lots of fun. Lots of fun. Typically, the alarm hand is not going to be as much of a problem. This one's got lots and lots of gunk around it. which I'm going to try and just scrape a little bit of that off. And I have a tool that I got off of eBay, which I'm going to try and use here, if I can. And this tool is actually sold under watch repair, not clock repair. But it's like a pair of tweezers, but has this end on it. The idea is that you can get this end underneath the hands of the clock or the watch, and then squeeze and pull up. So that's what I'm doing right now. Yeah, I'm not having a lot of luck. Now I'll tell you, it's a good thing that this face is trashed, because if it wasn't, I'd have trashed it by now. And I'm just, for the sake of, since I already have lost so much of the face, I'm just going to go ahead and hit it with some penetrating oil. And do a little more scraping, trying to get that gunk out. And my plan is to replace this face with a water slide decal. And luckily I have another Electrolarm with this face that is not all messed up. So the idea is that I'm going to replace this face with an exact duplicate, and you won't be able to tell the difference when I'm done. And of course I want to preserve the clock face, if at all possible. The sad fact is that it isn't always possible. Sometimes they're too far gone, and you're not going to be able to save the face of the clock. If you want the clock to look like it did, you're going to have to replace it with something. And I prefer the water slide decal because it's virtually impossible to tell the difference between the original paint and the water slide decal. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take off this thing. I don't know what it's called officially. I call it the beauty ring. Some of these, they're painted this ivory color, others they're brass. Okay, there's a little notch up there that it fits into, and then right here it's usually dented in on either side right there, and typically not hard to loosen and get off. If you just get under there and pull a little bit, they come off pretty easily. So alright, so there's that. And, looks like we've got somebody in there that worked on this clock, left his mark. So we'll put that to the side. Now we can take off the face. So yeah, this face is no hope for rejuvenation. It never did have any hope. So we'll put this to the side and then come back and I'll put the water slide decal on and show you what that looks like. All right, so at this point, this is what we're left with, and what we want to do is we want to remove the movement here from the back of the case. And in order to do that, we got to take out this screw and this screw, and we're also going to have to remove this knob right here, which is the time set knob. So what I'm going to do is grab the time set shaft, and I'm going to turn it counterclockwise. This arrow on here says you set the time by turning it clockwise, so it should come off by turning it counterclockwise. So there's that right there. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove these two screws here so that we'll be able to take the movement out. So now, as bad as this thing looks, it should. I'm expecting that this thing will clean up and operate properly. And I'm going to have to, you know, replace the face, the light holder, the cord, the lens. But when I'm done, it should, oh, and also the trim. But when I'm done, it should look just like it came out of the factory. Okay, one last thing that has to be done before we can remove the movement is, if you look right there, there's a nut. And that nut is holding a wire in place that comes from this switch. Okay, so we have to get in there and loosen that nut and take that wire, take the nut and the wire off. And sometimes it's a pain, and sometimes it comes off pretty easily, like that did. But we want to remove that and hold on to this nut. And now this whole thing should come away from the back here. Okay. And it's wanting to be kind of cemented on there. But there we go. All right, so now we got our movement here, and we got our back. And what I'm going to do is start with disassembling the back, the parts of the back. So I go to this switch right here, and this switch is held in by this ring. And this is nice, the ring turned without me having to put pliers on it. So I can then pull this off. And this is the switch that controls whether the alarm is set or not. So I can put that off to the side. I'm also going to remove this right here and clean it up. And the way you do that is just take this screw out right here. And there's a kind of a flat piece of metal on the other side. Serves as a washer. So take that out. And then the final thing that we can remove from here is that we want to remove from here in a case is the nameplate. So that's how long these being bent over. And so you're simply getting underneath this and lifting it up, pushing it up till it's straight. And then you should be able to push it out the back. I warn everybody not to try to clean these with anything but water, because if you use anything abrasive on these nameplates, it will wipe off all the lettering. You know, I don't know what process they used to put the lettering on there, but it will just come off. So there, I got that. I'm going to put that out of the way, and now this is ready for me to clean up. Okay, and it is possible to take this piece out and this also, but I usually don't. I don't see any point to it. It's just pressed on there. This isn't coming off. Okay, this is what's telling you whether you're setting the time for the night or the day, and it's just pressed on there. So put this out of the way, and I'm going to clean that with Brasso. So now I come back to the bell here, and what I'm interested in knowing is this bell coil any good? Okay. First thing I can do is just push on this plunger here, and if it moves, that's a good sign. Okay, so what I'm going to do, just real quick to see what I'm dealing with, is I'm just going to hook up electricity to these two wires and just see if I get any reaction. If that plunger moves or the bell sounds, then I've got a good coil, which is good news because these coils are not easy to find. I know of one other clock that uses them, and they're rare too, so it's not like here. Yeah, so anyway, here we go. Here's it. That's exactly what we want. That is exactly what we want. So we're in business there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this apart and I'm going to clean it and then reassemble it. So taking out this screw right here, and in between the bell and the bracket there should be a lock washer, a star lock washer. So take this out. Here's the lock washer that I'm referring to, and I'm going to clean that, clean up that bell. With this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap this coil with glass tape and then coat it with liquid tape. I'm going to put a heat shrink tube on these wires. This right here, and it's important to know this will just fall out once it's been detached from the bell, and inside of there should be a spring. We don't want to lose the spring or this. So there's another style that was used on the earlier ones, where the spring is on the outside, but this later type uses this. So I got that. I'm going to put that out of the way. We'll work on later. And that brings me to this right here, the movement. And where I'm going to start is by taking this set screw right here and loosening it. This is the wheel that shows you whether you're setting the alarm for AM or PM. So it has a set screw in here, and it goes on the alarm set shaft, and there's only one way it goes on there, so that's good. But you've got to get the set screw backed out enough in order for it to slip off. So I don't know if this is stuck on there or what. It's on there pretty good. That really should be enough for it to come off. So I'm thinking it might be stuck on there with some of this old oil, but it'll come off eventually. So there's the set screw completely off, and it's still not moving, which tells me that it's stuck on there, the old oil. So I'm going to go ahead and just put some lubricating oil on there. See if I can break that up and maybe scrape around a little bit. And what we'll do is just move on to something else while this penetrating oil is getting in there. All right, so this is something, you don't want to lose this set screw. This is something that there we go. So having taken this off, this is not something that I want to put through anything abrasive. I want to clean it by hand, soap and water, because on this side it has the paint for nighttime setting. I put through something, use something harsh on, I put it through a hypersonic cleaner, I might lose that. So that I'm going to clean by hand. This right here, okay, I have no good way of getting these on and putting them back on. If somebody knows and wants to put that in the comments, I'd love for you to tell me. But this right here is the weight for the power indicator. And getting it off isn't such a big deal. If you grab it and you slide it to right here, then it'll come off pretty easily. Getting it back on, that's a different story. Getting it back on so it grabs the post there, that's different. All right, so put that to the side. And so now at this point, what I'm going to do is come around to the front, and this we could say is the front plate. I'm going to remove the screws, the 3 screws that hold the front plate on. And just like I said, the different ways you could do this. I'm sure it's not like a proper way. I could go and remove the coil first, and the rotor, whatever, but this is just the way I've done it, so this is what I'm used to. So after I take out these 3 screws, this top plate here is going to come away from the rest of the movement. And also this piece right here, stuck to that because of the oil. But those 2 pieces I'm going to put through the ultrasonic cleaner. And once I've done that, I can remove the alarm set shaft, and I can remove the power indicator shaft. And so now this is what I'm left with. And what I'm going to do now is flip it over, and first thing I'm going to do is take out these 2 screws. These 2 screws are what's necessary for the light in the Electrolarm. These 2 small wires are going to the coil, and it's very important not to screw those up, because if you do, you're not going to have a light in your Electrolarm, and you're going to have to find another coil. And they're out there. There's some others that that had the light. The problem is, once you take that out, then that one won't, whichever one you take that out of, now it doesn't have a coil that can facilitate the light. So if at all possible, we just want to maintain this and not screw it up. All right, so once I have those 2 wires disconnected from the back plate, I'm going to go to these big chunky screws, take them out, and that will enable me to withdraw the coil and rotor. And what I'm going to do with the coil, I'm going to also wrap that in glass tape and coat it with liquid tape. I'm also going to, if you notice, this is a yellow 52, and that identifies what type of coil it is. What I always do after I wrap them and put liquid tape over it is I'll paint back on the number and use the same color. So I'll be painting a yellow 52 on here. Now we can just put this to the side right here. What I typically will do, something like this, is just throw electricity across the coil just to see. Do I get a hum from the coil? Does the rotor turn at all? Does it make noise? So it kind of gives me an idea of what I'm dealing with. But back to this right here. So now that I've withdrawn the rotor, the hour and minute hand sleeve, I can take those out, okay? And I can then also remove the time set shaft. And actually, this right here, we can also take apart. This screw right here has a little spring around it. You don't want to lose that. But we can clean this up and the other 2 parts that go with it. So I'm going to take this out to clean it up. And what's going on here is this piece right here, once you take that screw out, it'll pull out like that, and then this will pull out the top like that, and that's it. Now what we're left with is this base plate. This base plate, unfortunately, I'm not interested in putting this through the ultrasonic cleaner, and the reason is because it has this these boards on here, okay, that don't conduct electricity. And what I'm afraid of is if I put it through the ultrasonic cleaner, I'm going to ruin these, okay? So I don't want to do that. So when I get to this part of the Electrolarm, I'm going to clean this by hand, and I'm going to clean it using Brasso. And I mentioned in my last video on the Electrolarm, I don't use Brasso because I want it to shine. The reason I use Brasso is there's something in Brasso, I think it might be kerosene, but it breaks down the old oil, which you can see is coating all of these pieces of the movement. So I just take some Brasso and I rub it, and it'll break down that oil and remove it for me, so I don't have to bother with it. And maybe there's something else that does just as good a job, I don't know, maybe better, I don't know, but that's what I do. So and if you got an idea, better idea, please put it in the comments. I'd love to hear about it. So the next thing I'm going to do is just put some electricity across the coil here, and we're just going to quickly find out what we're talking about. You know, this is going to tell us a little bit about our starting point. All right, so let's see if we get any movement or anything. Okay, so you probably can't see this, but the rotor did turn slightly, and the coil did hum. So these are both good signs, because what that means is our coil is good as far as being able to power the rotor, we can say. And since the rotor turned somewhat, it is a good candidate for being drilled, cleaned, and re-oiled, and possibly working again the way it's supposed to. All right, so I'll come back and talk about each individual piece